faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're with us on this July 30th, 2025. I'm going to have Aaron on for a quick update about some things. Pretty big news coming out of the Middle East. But also, folks, have you seen the National Education Association's 2025 handbook? They pulled it. Apparently, they didn't want you to see it. But thankfully, some researchers out there grabbed it. We have it, and you can access it too. We'll put a link to it at worldviewreport.com. Here it is. Here it is. Why did they want to hide it? The National Education Association vision, their mission, and their values. Oh, yeah. You can just imagine, can't you, about their values? Well, they're in the news because apparently they don't want to talk about the Jews and the Holocaust. Isn't that interesting? Let's get into that with, and I will tell you tonight, I'm going to have Alex Newman on in depth tonight on this as well. What is really in this? All right. Joining me now is our reporter on the ground in Israel, Aaron Levarco, because we have some very interesting news coming out of Israel. Aaron texted me today to let me know about this. I'm like, okay, we got to get you on. And so he joins us now, along with talking about his latest tour in the Middle East that he's filmed for us to enjoy. We'll tell you about that and when you can watch it. He joins us now, brought to you by our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. Aaron, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Always good to be with you, Brandon. Thank you.
You too, my friend. Hey, before we get into your topic, I want you to see this. Here is an article dated July 23rd, 2025. Okay. This is from Free Beacon. Largest teachers union in the United States erases Jews from the Holocaust. The NEA described the Holocaust as having 12 million victims from different faiths, without mentioning the attempted extermination of the Jewish people. I mean, I've been writing about the National Education Association since my second book in 1990, whole chapter on them in 95. You really won't find a more anti-American, horrific, progressive, socialist, anti-God, anti-parent, anti-Bible organization on the planet. This is well documented. And a lot of their leaders are just, they're just, I don't know, they just seem very unhinged, theologically, spiritually, and every other way you can think of. But I knew I had to bring this up to you today, particularly with this controversy here in America where the NEA has pulled their 2025 handbook because of what's in it. But you want to respond to this?
Oh, Brandon, I find it hard to find the words. What can you say to all the historical records, the museums all around the world that have catalogs, families who have survivors who have testified, Nazis that have been caught that have testified. What does that mean? Why would they do that, Brandon? Why would they try to change and eradicate and throw out the Jews? What is their goal in doing that? It is something beyond. I think we could be going back to Romans 1 again. People 100%. With reprobate minds.
Yep, 100%. Yep. Let me see if I put this in the search box of what's Holocaust.
By the way, the Palestinian Authority president, Mahmoud Abbas, do you know that when he was in Moscow, that's what he did his doctorate on?
I
Holocaust
know. Yep. Well, this is, of course, making the news here in America. The handbook says the union will promote the celebration of International Holocaust Remembrance Day by recognizing more than 12 million victims of the Holocaust from different faiths, ethnicities, races, political beliefs, genders, and gender identification, abilities, disabilities, and other targeted characteristics, end quote. The description does not mention the attempted extermination of the Jewish people by the Nazis.
You know, it's almost this all-inclusivism.
Yes.
And you know, I think it serves a lot of people doing this, Brannon, because are you aware that these woke people today, do you know they're offended by the term that the Jews are the chosen people? They're offended by that.
Of course.
Because that term chosen people means that people who are not Jewish or Christian are not chosen people, you know?
Yep.
So they're offended by that.
All right. Now, we'll get to more about what the National Education Association is up to. Now, you sent me something today. You said this is a very big statement. What has come out, Aaron?
So the statement that I sent you mentioned that there are 22 Arab countries from the Arab League who signed a declaration, firstly condemning the October the 7th massacre. All of them, all 22 Arab nations signed a declaration condemning October the 7th massacre, and not stopping at that, calling on Hamas to release the hostages, but also, not stopping at that, asserting that Hamas must end its rule in Gaza and hand over its weapons to the Palestinian Authority. Now, gosh, we have gone a long way since the founding of the Arab League. Do you know, I don't know if the viewers know this, but the Arab League was founded for one reason: the birth of the state of Israel and the capturing of land. The Arab nations did not like this, so they formed in 1967 in Khartoum, a place in Sudan. They formed the Arab League to discuss what are we going to do with this Jewish nation. That's why the Arab League was formed. Now, fast forward that to today, and wow, what a change. So that's actually a positive that they are all signing this declaration condemning October the 7th and now calling for the overthrow of the leadership of Hamas. Now, let it be stated also that these Arab nations, a lot of them are still unhappy with Israel, unhappy with the way that they're handling the war. But this is great progress, and I can only see one thing happening. I see that a number of these 22 nations, Brandon, I think they're planning to sign something else, and that's part of the Abraham Peace Accords. I think many of those nations are getting ready to sign that. That's my opinion.
How soon?
Well, very interesting question. That one I'm not sure, but Israel's Minister of Strategic Affairs, a man called Ron Dermer, he is predicting that this war, the 7 fronts that we are under, is going to be over by April 2026. That's his prediction. So let's say, and he sees a lot more of these nations signing this Abraham Peace Accords, particularly in light of President Trump being in power. That's a key to this. So whether he's right or whether he's wrong, it does seem that there is writing on the wall, that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that there's a hope in the air. But boy, there still seems to be a lot of hurdles. And the analogy that I gave the other night about, you do your weeding in your garden, but you got to be on top of it when you see those weeds growing back. And Iran are growing back. Hezbollah are growing back. Hamas are not done yet. And our Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, today, when he was warning the Prime Minister of Britain, Germany, France, and a number of nations, including, I'm sad to say, including New Zealand and Australia, who are getting in line now to sign in September that they're going to vote for a Palestinian state. And Bibi Netanyahu is getting up and he is saying, this is not going to go well, not only for us, not only for the people of Gaza, but for you nations as well. Because if you start rewarding terrorism by giving them a state, then they're going to be emboldened and empowered to do the same thing in your nations. And that includes the United States as well. But Benjamin Netanyahu also said that we are giving Hamas an ultimatum. If within the next coming days, whatever that means, a breakthrough in the negotiations with our captives has not broken through, Israel is going to start a new strategy, which will be very, very serious in the Gaza Strip. He didn't go into detail, but we talked about this last night, I think, or yesterday afternoon, Brandon. Israel's in trouble with the media. We are losing the media war. The world is more and more coming against us because of the way the media is portraying this starvation. And I do believe to a degree there is starvation going on in Gaza, but I'm 100% certain, based on reports and video and footage, this is purely Hamas's responsibility and strategy. This is why they're keeping the hostages, because they seeing what's going on and they are winning the war on the media and PR level. Look what's happening. Nations are coming against us. So this is something that Netanyahu and our defense minister has said, it can't go on like this. We've got to do something. We've either got to capitulate and give in or up the pressure on a military level. And that's what they're going to be doing. So these next coming days are going to be crucial.
So where do you think we are on the signing of not just the Abraham Accords, but that, as the Bible talks about, a peace treaty being affirmed or confirmed? Where do you think we are on that, number one? And number two, when the Bible says that Israel is dwelling in the land, peace and safety, unwalled cities, do you believe that is now? Because I understood there was an archaeological discovery that showed you had a bunch of walls, and they were unearthing these walls, which some are saying the fact that those walls, were underground and had to be discovered by archaeologists is kind of showing that those walls actually have come down even now. I want to get your thoughts on some of that. My guest, Aaron Lavarco, our reporter on the ground in Israel, brought to you by our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com. We'll be right back.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home. Went to bed. All right, welcome back. Glad you are with us. All right, Ezekiel, what is it? I think Ezekiel 38 says you guys will be living in unwalled cities. Aaron, do you know about the archaeology? I was just reading. I wish I could find the report, but I was reading last week about some walls that were found there. I don't know, it was in Jerusalem where it was. I can't remember, but I read. And they were being dug up archaeologically. And someone was writing and saying, basically the structures have come down for a long time, but yet at the same time, we know you guys are throwing up walls with your border. What do you think it means when it says in Ezekiel 38, you're living in unwalled cities?
Mm-hmm. Well, that question, if you were to ask me that pre-October the 7th, the answer that I would have given them would be very different than the answer I'm going to give you for today. Back then, Brandon, yes, there was a level of security, peace, safety. In fact, usually if you look back at our last 10 wars, usually before every war, there's a sense of safety, prosperity, and all of that. Now, as far as the walls go, that's a tough one to answer because without walls, what really does that mean? Does that mean that there's trade with places like Jordan? We have borders all around with Jordan, with Egypt, with Lebanon, with Syria, with Gaza Strip. We have borders, we have walls. So I don't exactly know what that means. Now, there have been times where, for example, in Bethlehem, Israelis could go in and out. Jericho, Israelis could go in and out. Palestinians could come in and out. That's not the case now. So once again, I don't know about being in a place of safety without walls. Now, another thing, about 20 years ago, the late Shimon Peres, he signed a petition with European nations regarding Jerusalem. Because in the prophet Zechariah, it says Jerusalem will be a city without walls. And he proposed to have a new international line around the old city of Jerusalem, getting foreign nations involved. Now, fast forward it to today. Are we in a place of peace? Definitely not, Brandon. Post-October the 7th, we are on our watchtowers. We are at war. There's no gray here. It's black and white. We're at war. It's not as bad as those first 6 months, but we're still at war. Yesterday, I was in Tel Aviv driving, sirens went. All the cars stopped we had to pull over the side of the road. So it's still going on. Definitely not a place of safety. I actually think we are coming into that place. And it's what we've been talking about earlier. These Abraham Peace Accords, I believe, with more and more Muslim nations who are going to sign. I think there's going to be a goodwill, a good feel. There's going to be more trade. There's going to be more tourism. I don't know, again, how it's going to work out. Israel, that could be metaphorical, Brandon. Israel living without walls, meaning that, like people, we use that phrase with people, that person's walls came down. It could be metaphorical. If it's literal, I really don't know. I cannot see Israel ever living within the borders that we have today without borders and without security. I just do not see it happening. So it could well be metaphorically, but who knows? Things change rapidly. That's my little take on it. But I do believe over the next perhaps year or two, with these Abraham Peace Accords, we're going to see a new season of peace. And everyone wants peace, but I think this peace will be a bit of a false and a deceitful peace. And of course, 2 Thessalonians, or is it 2 Thessalonians 2, talking about a man of lawlessness will be revealed. And this could be the setting up of the temple, of the deceiver, an antichrist coming to power. So anything's possible.
Do you believe the Antichrist will be Jew or Gentile?
I don't see anything clear enough for me in the scriptures.
I think he comes out of the sea, meaning the nations, Gentile, and I think the false prophet coming out of the land will be Jewish.
Well, you know what? That makes really good sense. Now, the fact that it says that the man of lawlessness will sit in the temple of God as God. I could say, well, if it's a Jewish temple, which it will be, then he's got to be Jewish. But on the other hand, he may usurp authority and sit in the temple of God.
We know that it's the false prophet that sets up the image and gives breath. So if the false prophet is Jewish, then the false prophet, being Jewish, may be accepted to go in there and give breath to the image. And that word breath is the same word for spirit that you see in Acts 9 and Acts 16, which is a demonic spirit. So I think that image is a very, very, very high-ranking demon that has started to possess that image and is a duplicate, if you will, facsimile, a copy, a replica of the Antichrist itself. So it would make better sense to me if the false prophet's Jewish coming out of the land, but he's also in the temple, text says.
Yeah, again, if he is Gentile and he sits in the temple of God as God, to me, the only way he's going to be able to do that is to usurp authority, because the religious Jews, they would never allow.
And of course, this comes at about the middle of the tribulation, where he's breaking his peace treaty and turning on you guys, the Jewish people. So that could be where he does that as well.
Exactly.
Which it does seem as though from the timeline, it seems as if the abomination of desolation does happen at the midpoint, which is where he, is breaking his covenant with you guys, with Israel.
Right. And I don't even think a non-religious Jew would defile the temple. So based on that, yeah, it could well be that he's going to be a Gentile who usurps authority, sits in the temple of God as God. Because, as I say, the religious Jews, they wouldn't allow, no way would they allow a Gentile to be sitting in the temple of God or sitting in the temple of God, period.
Do you, how far do you think we are from a leader? I know it's a guess, but how far do you think we are from a global leader confirming a peace treaty, the man of lawlessness? You think he's alive today?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's a yes or no question. And I don't know how to answer that. I wish I did. Based on what we're seeing as far as the rebuilding of the temple and the nations coming against Israel and the anti-Semitism and the speeding up of the nations coming against Israel, and then we're on the verge of this season of peace that is coming in. Honestly, we could see something like this happening in the next 10, 20, 30 years, easily. So I'm not going to say yes or no, but potentially we're right on the verge.
So you wouldn't be shocked if the Antichrist were alive today?
I'd be shocked, but I wouldn't be surprised. Meaning, it's like
you should run for office, Aaron. You'd be good.
Brennan. It's like I would be shocked. Just like it's like we know all the nations are going to come against Jerusalem and Israel. That's what the scriptures say. We know it. It's written in the book.
Right.
But when it happens, I'll still be shocked.
Yeah. Right.
But I won't be surprised.
What are you guys going to do about getting these hostages back? I mean, I'm hearing that you guys are about ready to do something.
And that's exactly the report that I gave earlier from Bibi Netanyahu. Brandon, I hope that we're not going to be like Samson who decided to pull the house down, and at the same time he knew that he was going to take his own life as well. Remember that story? He pushed, he said, Lord, give me one last chance. And he pushed, and he knew he was taking himself down with it. I just hope that we're not going to do that, because I don't see any other option. But
what you're saying, let me just clarify. You're saying, because President Trump, I think, was on record the other day saying that if they go in for these hostages, a lot of them are going to be killed. So you're saying
that's the point. That's what I'm saying, Brandon. That's what I'm saying. There's two objectives. One is to get our hostages back. Two is to get rid of Hamas.
And you're to a point now, to get rid of them, you may have to go in, wipe them out, but that means the hostages will be killed. Otherwise, you guys are just going to be sitting in this position for years.
Exactly.
And again, you don't know how many of these hostages are still alive, do you?
We don't. We don't know, number one, how many hostages are alive. And number two, what we do know, we've heard reports that the hostages are surrounded by suicide bombers, terrorists who have bombs strapped to them, who are loaded. All the buildings are loaded. That's the reports we've heard. So the moment that any IDF soldier turns up, they press the button, bang, boom, it's gone. Everyone's gone.
Do you know what part of the Gaza this is in, or is it spread around?
I believe it's in the southern part of Gaza. I cannot remember the actual name of the village area, but we know, absolutely we know the area where it is, no question. That's we've known for a long time.
And my guess is you have the ability with drones that are way up high, maybe even satellites provided by us. You guys can look into those buildings. You're able to see things.
I don't know enough about their expertise and their technology. To some degree, I believe so. The other possibility, Brandon, is maybe an infiltrator. Somehow, some hopeful way, through military intelligence, getting someone who knows someone who knows someone who's able to somehow get in and say, hey, listen, we've got $1 million waiting for you. We've got a ticket on a plane to nowhere. No one will ever find you. Give us information. Who knows? This is where our military intelligence...
Speaking of money, didn't your government offer $5 million to any person, any Palestinian that would bring out a hostage?
We did, Brandon. We did. And what's happened? We don't know. We haven't seen anything. But here's the thing. These people that are strapped up with explosives, they don't want rewards in this life, Brandon.
Yeah, that's right.
They want rewards in the afterlife. They want a name for themselves. They want a legacy. They want 70 virgins.
Yep.
They don't care for the money.
Yep. All right, come back. Let's talk about the latest tour. We asked here for Aaron to go to various sites, bring his camera and his microphone, and give us tours of Israel. And he just turned one in. Where did he go? And when will we be showing it? Right after this break.
I'll tell you one little quick story. We had a Worldview Weekend client who lived in California, lost their house. Very wealthy guy. He didn't use Bitcoin. He came over here, drove to Arizona with $286,000 worth of his gold because he had no money and no house available. His bank was shut down because he couldn't have access to his bank account.
Was this during the fire? Was this during the fires?
During the fire. Didn't have his driver's license. He lost it. The state wouldn't give him a new license because he had no active mailing address. Real mess. So he came to Arizona to buy a house. He's moving everything over. He said, the only thing I got in my possession that I can get liquid with right now is my gold. I gave him a check for $286,000, and guess what? I didn't need his social, his driver's license. Sort of smiled, and I said, I know you and Brandon talked about how this worked, but boy, this is great. I feel good. I got my money. Nobody bothered me, and I'm protected, and it's private.
Just simply go to worldviewgold.com, fill out the form, worldviewgold.com. Aaron sent me something very interesting, comparing Gaza aid versus other conflicts. As I'm scrolling through this, let me just tell you a little bit about it. Since the war began, Gaza has received roughly 850, kilograms? No.
Yes, kilos.
Kilos. Kilos?
Kilograms, exactly.
Oh, it is kilograms?
Kilograms, kilos, the same thing.
Okay. You guys don't do pounds over there, huh?
No, but it's 2.2 pounds per kilo.
How much?
2.2 pounds per kilo.
Okay, so 850 kilos of aid per resident, or about 485 kilos per person per year. Of that, food alone accounts for 666. Well, that's interesting. Per person over 21 months, 321 kilo per person annually. Okay, to put that into perspective, in 1948-49, during the Berlin airlift, the Allies supplying their own civilians delivered 920 kilos per person over 15 months. That's comparable in volume, but again, that was ally to ally, not an enemy, supporting its wartime adversary. In the Biafran Civil War, 1967 to 70, church-led non-government organizations managed just 30 kilograms of aid per person over 2 years. The Nigerian government actively obstructed those efforts. And during the siege of Sarajevo, 1992 to 96, the UN delivered around 457 kilograms per person over 3.5 years, just 130 kilograms per person per year. The bottom line is this. No modern conflict has seen anything like this. A belligerent facilitating this scale of aid per capita to its enemies' territory. I bet we're about the only media outlet reporting this, Aaron.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at that. Shocking how people have just taken the narrative to a different direction. We seem to be guilty, and they're missing all these facts of all the hundreds of thousands of kilos and truckloads and the billions of dollars that have been spent. By the way, I was thinking about this today, and I'm not the only one that's thought about this. Why are the international community not pressuring 3 people? You know who I'm talking about? The 3 Hamas leaders who, since the beginning of the war, have been living in Qatar. And guess how much money they're worth?
Billions.
One has $3 billion, one has $4 billion, and the other has $3.5 billion. That's over $10 billion. They are the leaders of Hamas. They could be helping their own people, but instead, they're sitting in the nice 5-star hotels in Qatar, and they're watching their people rot. And so why aren't people, pointing the finger at them? Why aren't they saying they are the guilty ones? Because we know why. That's their strategy. And I just think it's sad, and I'm angry that so many people are falling for it. People are being duped. People are being deceived. And that is, by the way, that is one of the key things that the Lord warned his believers, his followers about. When you look at his teachings on the last days, he constantly says, be not deceived. And sadly, that's what's happening. People are being deceived. So wake up, everyone. Wake up to the reality of what is going on.
Here, Vivid. This is a website I follow a lot on X. Do you follow this website, Vivid? VIVID?
No.
You don't?
No, but it looks really interesting, actually.
Aaron, they are amazing. It is one of the best Twitter feeds if you want to follow the news in Israel. It's VIVID and then PROWESS.
And it's on X.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I follow them
the-
every day for some of the best news. I probably have the best. I sound like Donald Trump now, don't I? The best of everything, right? I probably have the best news feed of anybody in the conservative or Christian worldview arena, because I don't care about goofy stuff. I do show some funny videos from time to time, but I don't care about following on social media to see who had what for dinner. I have news feeds I follow, and this is one way we're just so ahead of the ball game on so many stories, or report on things others are just not going to report on, even if they did know about it, right? But here's one. Ela Kedar, the daughter of Yehuda Kedar, who fell in battle on October 7th, has finished her training in the Israeli border police and received her father's personal weapon, which he used in the battle in which he was killed. She continues her father's legacy defending Israel. They have a video of it. And they're showing her, she's breaking down in tears. She's getting a hug from a commander and being given her father's personal weapon. Where did this take place? Where would this, have you ever been to something like this? And where would it take place? And by the way, can I just say for the record, how can anyone talk about the Jews, where they were in the, I'll go back here right there, where, during Nazi Germany, they had the, quote, medical experts with their white robes. So it kind of sounds like COVID, right? The Nazi programs of COVID here in America with their white robes telling us take the death shot, the bio shot, which turns out a lot of the elite were not taking, right? But here they are measuring the nose of the Jews and telling you who's subhuman. Really? Because I don't know about you, Aaron. I don't know, maybe you just get desensitized to it. But when I follow these Israeli websites and I see your young people, particularly your young IDF soldiers, you guys are some of the best looking people on the planet. Not only do your guys look handsome and in fit shape, trained, muscular. I don't know what your obese problem is like in Israel, but I don't see a lot of obese IDF soldiers, male or female. Your guys are handsome and your gals are gorgeous. I mean, I'm looking at a couple of them right there in this video. If you want to disprove the lie of evolution, look at the IDF soldiers, male and female. Really? And you're going to try to tell me that they are somehow less evolved or subhuman. This is just the dumbest thing in the world, because I think a lot of us who follow these websites are, regularly aware of what a nice looking group of young people you have in your country, and smart and educated. It's not perfect. Your people aren't perfect. The Gentile race is not perfect, or people group's not perfect. But I look at your young people and I'm just impressed. Speak to all this. And have you been to one of these ceremonies here I'm showing?
Well, first, thank you, Brennan, for saying that. And that video that you showed was that was special, seeing her breakdown like that. They were very moving. Can you imagine what she's going to be taking with her, the psychological impact of that? It reminds me of quite often when I'm guiding groups to museums or sites, I will see groups of soldiers at these sites. In fact, there's one particular site where Gideon and the 300 men fought the Midianites. And our soldiers go to sites like that. Why? It's like we just saw with that girl getting the gun that her father used, and it's like passing it on to the next generation. That's why the soldiers go to these sites, to receive the wisdom, the history from our former generations, even as far back as the Bible, so that it goes deep down into our soul, into our psyche. Yes, I have been to a few ceremonies. Usually they're either at an army base or at a public arena where they can host the parents to come along. Usually when they finish their basic training or a special officers course or something like that. And it's a beautiful occasion, especially when the parents get to turn up and share that moment. It's like a graduation ceremony.
Yeah.
But that
Touching.
one, I hadn't seen that.
Well, follow that site. Now, guys, keep your finger on the button. Candace Owens isn't known for cursing, but keep your finger on the dump button, if you guys would. I've read a transcript of this, but I haven't heard all of it. But I want Aaron to respond to this. But that, just a little heads up. We have a 7-second delay if we have to use it, but I don't think we're going to have to. But here's what she has said recently, Candace Owens.
I would literally rather saw off my own foot than support Israel ever again, by the way. Never supporting that demonic nation ever again. That's like, I'm so off that train. It's crazy. I've learned way too much. Like you delivered in every way that you are supposed to deliver by just going full mask down. You often hear this word inhumane, right? They don't dehumanize. You dehumanized yourself. You proved that you have to not be a human to look at what is going on in Gaza and to try to spin it as a necessary response to October 7th. That takes somebody that is something other than human to keep doing that. And that's what you've done, and that's what you're being, and I will never be able to unsee that like the rest of the world. That's why I say it's incumbent upon us now. These are our kids that are growing up. You may have been able to do it with Robert Maxwell's textbooks, raise generation people to think like I did, like, oh my gosh, like we have to make sure that a Holocaust never happens. We have to support Israel. Nope. Now we are reading the books. We're learning about how you've executed this. You've blindfolded the entire world to what you are. And what I think you might be is possessed by a real demon. I'm Catholic. I believe in demons. And Netanyahu is very clearly a demon. And any person that supports him, like you are a part of a totally demonic enterprise. And we're never going to be able to unsee that. Okay. Oh, it didn't happen. No, Hamas is stealing. Hamas, ISIS, all of these people are just so conveniently, these terror groups are so convenient in helping Israel expand its borders. We know that now. We're aware of these operations that you're running and constantly blaming it on Muslims, radical Muslims, that you're funding always, right? You just always happen to be funding, Israel happens to be funding these groups. We're aware of what you're doing in Armenia. You're killing Christians. You've always been killing Christians. And you've always been pointing the finger at Muslims. So everyone's awake to that now. So you got a little bit more than a PR problem, Bill Ackman, okay? You have the PR solution, which is that you won. We know what you are. We see what you are. So what are you going to do now? Kill us all? That's kind of the broader question that I think you guys are going to have to ask yourselves. Pass more speech laws in America? Pull the Brigitte, start suing people? Demand that they're fired? The last thing is we control the courts. So we're just going to make all of you guys suffer.
Wow. Jews are subhuman, demonic. Let's see what Aaron says. Don't go away. Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview. back. Aaron Labarco is my guest. Brought to you by our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com. Don't forget to stay tuned for Crosstalk with Jim Schneider at the top of the hour at vcy.org. America's original Christian talk program is Crosstalk. Since the 1970s, over 100 outlets nationwide daily, 2 p.m. Central at vcy.org, or stay here to the VCY network if you are on such, which is really all the channels except for, of course, WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida. So just stay right where you're at, all right? Now, of course, you're on Worldview Tube, I know that, but I'm talking about if you're on terrestrial radio. But if you're not on terrestrial radio, you can find them at vcy.org. That's also the point. Now, I was going to open the phone lines up, but I think Aaron and I need the final moments to respond to what we just heard. And coming from someone that claims to be Christian, she says she's Catholic, small c, as I would put it. And she's a Black American or brown, whatever you want to say. She's really brown. She's not Black. She's brown. I'm not really white. I'm kind of tannish. Pigment. It's all it is. Pigmentation. But we do know that race was used by Adolf Hitler to exterminate Jews as subhuman. And I would think as a brown woman, she would be able to say, wait a minute, I got to be on the right side of this because I know where this goes. It just blows my mind that people, brown people that were targeted and are targeted by Darwinian evolution, don't stand with the Jews more, even if they just say, I don't agree with all the Jews on this, this, and this, but I am so going to fight this racism. But she wanted to say there, did I not hear her right? Subhuman, Aaron? Not human? Demonic? And then you guys are funding Hamas. Well, a minute she's saying that you guys are starving the folks in Gaza, but then she turns around and says you guys are funding Hamas and the whole deal. So which one is it? Are you funding the Hamas Palestinians in the Gaza, or are you starving them to death? Are you funding them with food? You're not funding them with food, but you're funding them with money? I mean, I don't know. Did you notice that contradiction?
I did. Yeah. Brennan, Golda Meir, she once said, I will forgive the Palestinian people for killing our people, but I will not forgive them for causing us to kill their people. And that is what October the 7th has created. We are forced to defend ourselves. We are forced to fight against terrorism who are fighting from civilian places. She has been duped. She's been deceived. Number one. Number two, Brandon, it's interesting. She's demonized us, and that was hard to watch because basically the damage that she is doing by saying that, because she has a lot of following, and that means, Brandon, that people that follow her, they're going to demonize us. That means if my kids or if I ever want to travel to places that some of these followers of her are in, we're going to be demonized ourselves. We're going to be spat at and hated. So she's doing a lot of damage. But what she didn't report is that we are the only nation in the history of in the annals of human history war who are feeding their enemies during a war. We are sending in all this food. Oh no, she didn't report that Hamas.
But she said that you're not. She said that you're not.
She's got her facts wrong. She's not doing her homework, number one. And number two, if you're going to report, you need to know a little bit about warfare, about military warfare. I don't know if she's ever put on an army uniform. I don't know if she's ever studied military warfare at all. But this is damaging what she's doing. And, she talked about subhuman. What came through to me is she was talking from what I call humanism, where she may call herself a Christian or a Catholic, but I didn't feel and sense that she was speaking through the eyes of the scriptures. And the eyes of the scriptures, they call Israel out just like they call out every other nation. In fact, Paul, when he was talking about the Jewish people in Israel in Romans, in chapter 3, he said, "For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God." We're all sinners. But what she did not bring in to the whole big picture is that God still has a place in his economy of bringing the Jewish people back home and forgiving their sins, bringing about a national salvation. She didn't mention any of that. In other words, she gave not only no hope, she damned us, she condemned us. And that is not scriptural.
Well, I agree, and I would challenge Candace to come on my broadcast live, so it can't be edited. And let's go to the Bible. Because I wondered, as you are asking and stating correctly, does she know the Bible? Does she know that the Bible says the Jews would be scattered, and then God would cool in his anger toward them and gather them once again together, the image of the dry bones forming, and make them a nation again? And that it's not so much, are you Jewish genetically, are you Jewish spiritually, with a circumcision of the heart? Right. We can talk about Karl Marx and Sigmund Freud and some of these people if you want to, but let's also talk about the bad Gentiles. But it's an issue of the circumcision of the heart. And I would say, Candace, have you had a circumcision of the heart? Because if you do, you're going to love the things that God loves, and you're going to hate the things that God hates. And I don't think if I got her in my studio live, she could keep up with what the Bible says. Not what Brandon says, but what the Word of God says about the Old Testament and then over in the book of Romans in the New Testament. Would you agree?
I do agree. And Brandon, when you say you love the things that God loves and hates the things that God hates, we hate killing Palestinians. We hate it. We don't want to do this, but we've got no choice. Kill or be killed.
And that's our dilemma. That's a just war.
That is a just war. Exactly.
Because that's what government can do. They can bear the sword and bring capital punishment. And I even have another video here of IDF has just found, in the last 24 hours, another 1 kilometer long underground tunnel. So instead of using the money to feed their own people, they use it for underground terror so they can capture Jews and murder them. Aaron Lavarco, lighttothenationsministry.com, us, worldviewfoundation.com. Take care. And we're back with WROS and you here on Worldview 2. Again, Aaron, here is a tunnel. Let me show you this video, this tunnel. This is brand new. You're gonna thank me, Aaron, for telling you about this new Twitter account. It's
vivid.
Oh yeah, it's an awesome website. Awesome. Here we go. Here's the video. Look at this thing. This is claustrophobic, number one. But number two, I mean, that is a lot of concrete. For the radio audience, WROC out of Jacksonville, Florida, it is concrete walls, concrete ceiling. There is electrical lines running down this thing. And it looks like stored food in there, Aaron. Looks like they've brought in their, RPGs. They've got stored food and weapons in this tunnel.
Yeah, it could be stored food, or it could also be stored explosive chemicals as well. And by the way, it was estimated at the beginning of the war that there's about 300 miles of these tunnels, Brandon, 300 miles. And that it's supposed to...
What is that saying? That's in Hebrew. What's that saying?
That says, Ti'ud mitoch haminhara ba'otro atzmai lechema b'Khan Yunis. No, it's just saying it's inside of the tunnels in a place called the fighting area of Khan Yunis, which is an area inside of the Gaza Strip.
Well, why doesn't Candace Owens show those tunnels and say, hey guys, why are you spending all your money on that instead of feeding your own people? Why are you stealing the aid that's been brought in? Have you seen the videos of them stealing the aid and rushing it down in trucks down the street at high speeds with the soldiers on top shooting at the people on the roads?
Yeah, and then up the road, they sell it at exorbitant prices.
So why is Candace Owen not showing that footage of Hamas stealing the food from their own people and shooting at them when they try to stop these trucks to get this food? Why?
Yeah, good question. Do you remember what Paul said in Romans 11?
Here's that video. I got the video right there. That's one of the videos right there. It would play. But this video, for some reason, for some reason, is one of the videos that we have a very difficult time playing. I don't know why. But go ahead. What did Paul say?
No, I was just going to quote Paul in Romans 11 when he's talking about how Israel has been blinded in part until the fullness of the Gentiles. But what Paul says before he goes into that, he says to the Gentiles, he said, I would not have you ignorant of this mystery, lest you be wise in your own conceit. Do you know that verse, Brandon?
Yep.
Yeah. Those words are quite startling, and they remind me of Candace Owen, that you would not be wise in your own conceit. And, if you're not drawing on the word of God, then what are you drawing on? Are you drawing on the media? Are you drawing on your own counsel of the soul, on human wisdom? Paul deals with that when he writes to the Corinthians, talking about the wisdom of this world compared to the wisdom of the Spirit of God. I just think that she is not constituted enough with the word of God. Paul calls people like that a babe. He says, we need to be babes. They only eat milk. We need to eat meat, and I don't know how much meat of the word that she's been feeding on.
Mm-hmm. And that's assuming that she's a believer, and you're being very kind and gracious to give her the benefit of the doubt that she's just an immature Christian, and what she may be is just an absolute apostate, hate monger.
Well, the way she's talking about Israel, and God forgive her, God have mercy on her. I don't wish her bad. But the damage, Brennan, that she is going to be doing.
And folks, Aaron, she is so popular in America and around the world. Now, obviously, she's losing a lot of supporters. I mean, you can see it in the Twitter feed. But she's gaining a lot. Wouldn't you say, Logan? I mean, she's staying up there. How many followers she have? He's going to look. Well, let's remember what this is about, too. Here's a picture of 3 little girls sitting on the front porch. She got 6.9 million followers on X.
Wow.
Yeah. Here's 3 little girls, Arbel, Omir, and Akar. 3 angels were murdered by Hamas on October 7th. Don't you dare forget why Israel is at war.
Exactly.
Here's another one. Look at this attractive, beautiful young lady, murdered in cold blood on October 7th by Hamas. Looks like she's wearing an IDF uniform. Murdered.
Yeah.
All these people want to talk about Israel. You know what, Americans? I hate to say this, but you know what I fear? I fear a massive October 7th of our own. And if they come pouring over the narco state border of Mexico and they murder a bunch of Americans, I'm going to watch and see how many of you want to go after them and hold them to a standard, but you won't allow Israel to do the same thing. Shame on so many Americans. Pray for Israel. Take care.